Welcome to the How Did They Do It Real Estate Podcast. Have you ever wondered how people succeed in real estate and what steps they took to get there? If so, this podcast is for you. Your hosts, Sayla and Eileen Prack, interview top experts in the real estate community to share with you their real estate journey and how they achieved massive success. Our goal is to provide you with valuable real estate resources and to help you apply it to your own real estate goal. Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of the How Did They Do It Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Eileen Prack. And today we have a fantastic guest for you, Mike Ballard. Welcome to the show, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm excited to be here. I'm doing really well. Thank you.
So, Mike, you and I had met quite a while ago. We've been working pretty closely together. I mean, you and your group at Camino Verde has been phenomenal to work with, and where you guys come from in terms of your values, your goals, it really aligns to what we're looking to do also. And so I'm just so excited to have this conversation with you. And thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your journey with us.
Glad to be here. It's been a fun ride, that's for sure.
So, Mike, can you share with our listeners a little bit more? Let's start off by, sharing a little bit more about your background and how you got started with real estate.
Okay, well, my wife jokes I'm perennially unemployed. I'm always changing jobs. So after graduating college, I worked for Xerox, a big company, and then I worked for a couple national accounting firms, basically helping them with business development. And then I started my first business at about the age of 30 and have been an entrepreneur ever since. We had a marketing communications firm, and that's where I first really started getting that, and the accounting firms is where I really started learning more about real estate. One of the firms that I worked with was a firm called Laventhal and Horwath. And back in the day, they were one of the biggest firms in the country. And they had a big hospitality division and did work for Hyatt and other major hotel brands. And they also had a big real estate group. And I helped start the local NAIOP chapter at that firm, which is the Industrial and Office Property Association. And then I also started working with the home builders and other things. And then when I started my marketing consulting firm, we grew to be a significant player in the real estate market. We worked with a lot of the prominent developers in Las Vegas and then branched out into Utah and Arizona. And because those areas were growing from a real estate point of view, we became the 16th biggest PR firm in America to the real estate industry. And I saw a lot of what my clients were doing. And a few of those were large property management firms or large real estate development firms that were doing multifamily. And I just kept that in the back of my head. I moved on with a bunch of different businesses, and I started the Angel Investment Club of Las Vegas and started more businesses and did more consulting. And then Kevin Romney, my partner, and I we had met earlier, but we kind of reconnected when he moved to Las Vegas. We started doing a few more things together. The funny thing was his son took my daughter to the prom one year, and we got to reconnect there a little bit. And then we went to breakfast in 2019, and he was making some major decisions about his business, and he was about to sell it, it appeared. And he said, "What do I do next?" And one of the businesses that I had started with some partners was Ascent Multifamily Accounting, where we do back office accounting for apartment owners. We started that in 2014, and we grew Ascent. Today, we're almost 50,000 units where we do the accounting for a lot of your listeners and that type of thing, but we have clients all over the country and we do the back office. And Kevin knew that I was involved with this accounting group, and he said, "What do I do next?" And I said, "Kevin, I've been meeting all these clients at these conferences and meeting other entrepreneurs, and they're buying real estate, these older properties, and renovating them. And I think it could be quite a good business. And I'd love to have you as a partner if you'd be willing to consider it." And so that's how I got into the business.
So when you and Kevin decided to start up and get into multifamily and commercial real estate, this side of the business, what were some of the things that you did in order to get the ball rolling?
So number one, YouTube is a great resource, right? We went to and saw podcasts and videos about how to do it, that type of thing. There was a workshop coming to Vegas just a month later by one of the national syndication groups about learn how to invest in multifamily and syndicate deals. And so we said, let's go to that. And so we went to that. And I remember the dates of that. That was like mid-February, President's Day weekend, I think the 15th, 16th, and 17th. And we went to that workshop and we got motivated and we met some quality people. And that was kind of the start of it. And I'm going to share with you a slide here. Let me, so Kevin and I met another gentleman, Robbie Thomas.
Oh, it doesn't show full screen on our side here.
On your side. So let's just leave it here for now.
Okay.
Okay. And so Kevin and I and Robbie met and we decided to start our own little mastermind group. So we ended up meeting the next Wednesday and putting together this program. Said in 90 days, if we're going to do this, we need to be serious. So our goal is to have one property in escrow in 90 days. And how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to meet with brokers, 2 a week each, 8 in Vegas, 5 in other markets. And we outlined the other markets here, Reno, San Antonio, Dallas, that type of thing. And then would underwrite by March 20th of 2019, we're going to have underwritten 15 deals in that month, in the next 30 days. And then the next month, we were going to do 25 deals, and then the next month, 40 deals, right? And then we're going to make one offer a week in March, one offer a week by April 20th, or 2 a week by April 20th, and 2 a week by May 20th. And our goal was to have one property in escrow in 90 days.
That's fantastic. So then you worked backward for what you wanted to achieve and you put actionable steps on how to get there. Right. So how did you determine that you were going to do, one offer a week? Like what was that like the formula? How did you guys come up with that formula to be able to help you get to your end goal?
Part of it was listening to podcasts like this, right? Just hearing what people did, having gone to the workshop, talking to other people and thinking what would be realistic. And, somebody said, for every 100 deals you underwrite, you make 10 offers. For every 10 offers, you get best and final on 3. And then out of those, you get 1, right? So you have to underwrite 100 deals to get 1 purchase. So we just kind of worked backwards and said, what can we do to make that happen?
And so after 90 days, did you and Kevin and Robbie end up meeting that goal?
We did. We had 1 property in escrow. So this was the property, Sherwood. Again, right near the Strip. 36 units. And these are the details of the property. And so we thought we could be able to increase rents this much. And this is again 2019. So we were supposed to close at the end of June. Again, we set this goal on February 20th of 2019. So 90 days from then would have been May 20th. And we were supposed to close on this property in June. What was crazy was what occurred next. Kevin and I, listening to all the podcasts, we downloaded our contacts. We deleted everybody out that wasn't a potential investor. We thought, just family that we knew didn't have any money, that type of thing. And we're only going after accredited investors. And so we ended up with 1,100 names in between our 2 sets of contacts. And we did this mailing and we said, hey, would you consider investing in cash flowing real estate? You'll get a good return. And here's why it's a good investment. And we got like a 20% return or response rate. I'm like, this is fantastic. And then we started reading the responses, and it was, take me off your list. No, I'm not interested. And I'm like, oh no, And so after that emailing, we thought it'd be a lot easier, or before that emailing, we thought it'd be a lot easier. And afterwards it was, we started to sweat bullets, right? Our earnest money deposit had gone non-refundable. We had paid money to a lending group for an appraisal, and we just expended certain costs, and we were scared to death. And so we started dialing, what I call dialing for dollars, right? We called like 40 people that we thought were the top, friends that we had that could write checks. And our goal was to raise $700,000. Here's the dashboard, right? And so we had a down payment of $520. We had other legal fees and costs over here. And then we had improvements. We planned very little improvements. We hadn't thought through it, but our goal was to raise $700,000. And so we were at $150,000 after about 5 weeks. And so we paid the money for an extension. We're like, oh my goodness. And just about that time, this young kid calls me up that I had met at a conference. He was always polished. He was always smart, and he said, hey, Mike, I'm kind of interested in your project. I'm fairly new too. I've dropped out of college. I'm working on doing this. And he says, would you give me, or he asked me, how you doing on your fundraising? I said, well, I've raised $150,000 out of 700. He said, so, okay, you need 550. If I can raise that, can I have a third of your sweat equity? And I said, yeah, sure. I talked to Kevin and we're like, yeah, that would be great. And so that's what we did. And this guy basically called us back and said, I got 5 guys. Here's what they're going to do. Some are going to do $180,000 each. Somebody's going to do $40,000, and it added up to $550,000. And we were able to close on our first deal at the end of July, 2019.
And then from there, Mike, how did you guys decide to continue to grow the business?
Well, once we had him committed, the broker had brought us another property in the area and said, and the thing that worked well for us is we told the broker, okay, we now get a better sense of what we can do. We realized, we took out 20 or 30% of our list, and we knew who were kind of better and certain demographics that might work. And we told the broker, we're looking for this kind of a property that can do this, that can have this. And he said, well, I know of another property. But the guy just bought it like 3 months ago. And I said, well, how many units? So we couldn't compete with the big boys yet. We were looking in the 20 to 50 unit range to just get our feet wet. And we said we wanted something, but we told him very specifically what we're looking for. And he found us a property that met the price. And he said, the guy bought it. It was another 36 unit property, just like the one we had purchased. And he said the guy bought it for $2 million. And I think he'd sell it for $2.7 million. And we did our little math, and yeah, even though he's going to make a $700,000 profit in 5 months, we think we can get it to be worth $3.6 million in 2 years. And so we made an offer, and half my buddies said, you're dumb. You're giving him all the profit. The guy just bought it. And I said, it meets our metrics. And we bought it. And then we started doing that improvement and did a mailing. A third of the guys that invested in the first deal said, we'll invest in the second deal. And some of those guys were this young kid's contacts. And so we called them up and we said, hey, we're going to give you sweat equity in this deal, and you don't have to do anything because your investors are going to invest in this next deal. And he said, great. I don't have to do anything and I'm going to get X% of your GP for that? We said, yeah. And so then we had gone to a few more conferences and networked all through town, and we found more investors. And that one was easier. And one by one, we started doing deals all in this area that met our sweet spot criteria. And let me show you what occurred. We ended up selling one to be opportunistic, but we bought 5 properties right here in the same block. So this was the first one. And then we bought one kind of a couple streets over, and I'll tell you the story of that later. And then this last one over here to the right was the last one we purchased. And you helped us with that, and you helped us with the one before that. And I'll talk more about partnering maybe a little later, but when we did the mailing on this now for 2630, we talked to our partners, asked them how they wanted to participate. And then we did a mailing, and literally in a week we had it funded. This was probably 2 years after our first one. And it gets easier and easier each time you do it. And we've got some investors now that have invested in 6 or 7 deals with us.
So Mike, share with us a little bit how important it was for you to be specific and clear on not only your goals, but your criteria on what you're looking to buy to be able to be successful in this space.
Yeah. So first, let me address the goals. There's 2 types of goals. There's, I want to lose this much weight by this date. And then there's, which I call a lagging indicator. The leading indicator is, I want to hit the gym this many days a week. I want to eat this many calories every day, and I want to do something else, right? So the leading indicators are the activities that help you achieve your goals. And James Clear has a book that I totally am a huge fan of called Atomic Habits. And I tell everybody to use the principles that he talks about in building your business. So that's what we did. We set these, what are the activities or the systems we have to put in place to reach this goal? So that was one thing. And then your other question was, as far as about being specific about the properties. Look, we've looked at the marketplace, and Las Vegas is one of those places where Blackstone and Carlyle and all these big funds like to buy big property, especially the newer big properties. And so there's so much competition for properties that are 200 units and above. I just said, I told my partner, Kevin, let's not waste our time. There's a sweet spot here that we can be in Vegas of, now we're at, 20 to 100 units, that there's less competition. We know the market well, that type of thing. And then the other thing, we now purchase properties in a few other states. Part of that was through networking, through relationships that I had before, right? And I had met through my accounting firm, a property manager in Nashville, Tennessee. And I said, her name is Billy Joe. I said, Billy Joe, we've been working together for a long time. Do you want to manage another property? And she says, I do. I'm creating my own firm. I said, great, find it for me. She said, what? I said, find me an off-market deal that would work, and this is what we'd like. And she found us 3 or 4. We made offers. A couple people nibbled. And one guy was intriguing. He said, you know what? I'm a contractor. I own this building free and clear. I'm doing a bunch of renovations. Call me back when I'm done, because this is a family business. And if I sell it to you now, I'm putting 5 of my family members out of business. And that's probably not all the exact details, but generally that was the gist of the conversation. So he called him back. He says, I'm ready to sell. And it was a $15.4 million acquisition in a town called Hopkinsville. And Hopkinsville is just north state line of Nashville. And I'm showing you a map here. Hopefully you can see that. Can you see that?
Yes, I can see that one.
Okay, so here's Nashville, here's Clarksville, and our property managers in Clarksville does stuff in Nashville, but also does stuff in southwestern Kentucky. And Hopkinsville is just, and Fort Campbell is kind of between them. And so we bought this property here, 258 units, $15.4 million. And the seller basically said, he had horrible financials. He had, I don't even think you could call them financials. It was pretty sad because he's a contractor. He was doing this to employ family and that type of thing. And we said, look, we can't get financing on this because you don't have financials. And he said, okay, what if I finance it for you? I own it free and clear. And we're like, really? So he was willing to do 85% loan to cost financing. You know, it was $15 million. You know, we needed to do more improvements to get it the way that we wanted it. So we were raising $4 million. And we, you know, so that helped us. And then we were able to find another partner. You know, we went to some people in the industry because we had never raised anything more than, I don't think we had raised $1 million yet. We'd only been raising $500,000 to $1 million for each of those properties in Vegas. And now we had to raise $4 million. And how do we do it? We weren't even sure we could guarantee the loan. In fact, on the very first deal we did, the lender, we did a Freddie Mac loan. The lender said, you don't qualify. You guys don't have any properties. And so I went to somebody I knew and said, hey, I'll give you X% of the GP and give you some cash of our acquisition fee if you'll guarantee the loan here. And I went to this other guy. The first guy had the experience that the lender wanted, but none of us had the net worth that the lender wanted. So then the next guy, we had to find another guy who had the net worth, and we gave him some of the GP and some of the acquisition fee to do that. And they were both like, hey, I like this, free money. And it's a non-recourse loan. And so you need partners. One of the things I want to stress to your audience here is partnering is a good thing. It's unlike anything I've ever seen in business before, where there's so much sharing and partnering and helping in the business and people that want to give back. That's awesome. So now we get to Hopkinsville, and it's going to, you know, we know ultimately we're going to need a bigger guarantor when we do get a loan. And we went to another gentleman who was an author of a book called Maintenance Man to Millionaire. His name is Glenn Gonzalez. And he wrote a book about 1.5 to 2 years ago. And he had become friendly with us through one of the software companies that I had met in the industry. And we said, hey, could you partner with us and help us raise some money? And he said, you know what? Let me take a look at the property. And they flew out, we met, we did the whole dog and pony. And he said, yeah, I think I can raise most, if not all the money. You found the deal. You need to have at least half, but I think if we find most of the money and we do the asset management, since we're close, he was in Texas, we're in Vegas. He says, let's be 50-50 partners. And we said, okay. And we were able to raise a little over $1 million, and he raised almost $3 million. And we were partners. And that's how we got the biggest property in our portfolio.
Yes, it's so important, especially like what he had mentioned earlier about partnerships in this space. It's very like same thing with me too. It's very different because it's not a competitive environment where everybody is just trying to take from each other or you know, hold the knowledge against from each other, and then not want to see everybody grow. I think within, at least in the commercial space, people tend to want to share a little bit more because they realize together as partners, if we can do it together as a team, we can do it better, we can do it faster. And why wouldn't we want to get to our same goals if we collaborate and leverage our expertise, our strengths with each other?
Yeah, that's exactly true.
So Mike, for you, as you've been building up, as you've been investing in real estate, what has been the biggest surprise that you didn't expect to come out of all of this?
There's a couple different things that I would say. The first is the sharing and the partnering. I thought I'd have to do a lot more on my own, and I don't. Kevin and I have worked well together. We still have challenges and difference of opinion from time to time, but it's been a really good partnership. And then just going, we've now partnered with organizations like yours 4 or 5 times now. We're working on another deal probably 5 or 6 times. We're working on some deals in Texas, and some other deals. And each time we're smarter, we learn things. We change our purchase and sale agreements. We change our offer. Everybody that we've worked with, even if they're brand new in the business, they teach us something, and that's been awesome. We've got about 450 units of renovation units that we've done. And I had partnered with some other buddies of mine before Kevin and I became partners to do an apartment complex from the ground up, a development deal in Vegas, in the suburb of Henderson. And then Kevin and I, after doing the acquisition of older properties, we decided to try our hand at developing. And so now we're starting to do some new development projects as well.
So what's next for you and Kevin in your group?
I think with the way, I think everybody in this industry is very surprised also about the appreciation that all properties have had in the last 18 months. And so the cost of older properties, just like the cost of used cars, I was just saying used cars average price went up 30 or 40% in the last year and a half because of COVID and supply chain issues and those types of things. We're seeing that kind of thing also in multifamily, where we've seen this great appreciation of typically 15 to 30 or 40%. So we've decided to do more development. And so that's part of the direction that we're headed. And we've got several projects in the works, and we're getting close to opening later this year. The first project that I started before the pandemic, without Kevin, but with some of my other partners. And now we're working on, we bought a property in Charleston, South Carolina, that it's on the old Navy base. It came with a bunch of tax credits. So it had one building and then one lot. And we can renovate the one building and then build new on the lot. And that's a big part of what we're working on next.
And how has real estate investing impacted your life so far?
I could kick myself because I started consulting in real estate more than 25 years ago. And I feel like I wasted 15 years when I should have been doing this. I would tell everybody I know, take a look at it, find a way, even start off small. We only ended up keeping 55% of the GP in our very first deal. And then we split our deals 70-30, but even if you can just come in a little bit, like we let some people in for 2.5% of the GP, just because they really wanted to be on the GP side. They have invested in a couple of deals. And so Kevin and I have always had the approach, we're going to leave a small amount of our GP to share with everybody. We've been able to keep bigger and bigger percentages as we went on to where I think we own on some 87% of the GP. But we believe in this partnering, and we're both trying to get our kids. We've both got adult children. Those 2 that went to prom are now 27 years old, and my daughter made her first investment in real estate at the end of last year, and so I'd say get in, even if it's in a small way, and you'd be shocked. I've got clients, a couple clients in particular, that started a company 5 years ago as just a minor partner in the deal and grew to 3,000 units and basically triple upgraded their home and just have a much better quality of life and earn beyond their wildest dreams and have way more free time than they ever imagined.
So, Mike, if someone were looking to get started in this space, like you wish you had started earlier and that you had started now or a couple of years ago, what are some of the things that they could do to get started? A couple of actionable item steps that can help get this ball rolling.
One of the ones that I strongly believe in is somebody that you kind of introduced us to. Joe Fairless wrote a book, right? The best ever syndication book. And I'd say read that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great primer to understand how to get in the business. They're welcome to come to my website. I know they've probably go to your website and just say, hey, we ask people before they partner with us, read one of these 3 or 4 books, just so that you understand what you're getting into. And we're not, we don't want to give you your freshman level education. We want to help you with what we call your junior and senior year education in the College of Multifamily Syndications and Investment. So do a couple things first, and then come to us and say, I'd like to do this in my city. And let me share with you one other example, if I could. So we partnered with a group called Higher Point Investing. Ken and Rachel Wick, they met that very first conference one of the very first conferences that Kevin and I went to. We met this couple that shared our value system in a lot of ways. We like to consider ourselves God-loving, God-fearing people, and that type of thing. And so Ken and Rachel Wick, they set up a company called Higher Point Investing, and they had invested in 3 of our properties: Camino 2556, Camino 2575, and Camino 1107, which we sold, right? And so we were willing to give them little slivers of our GP along the way. And then we showed other things. And so we put together, so they found their own deal and they came to us and we helped arrange the lending. We guaranteed the loans. We provided the expertise that the lender wanted. And then we helped raise the capital for the project. And the project was one that they found outside of Des Moines, Iowa, called Linden Residence 1 and 2 apartments. And it was 48 units, a $3 million purchase. And now they own more than 50% of the GP. And then they split it with Kevin and I and another gentleman. And so that's how we did it. And, just call us up if you're ready to go. There's other people in the industry that are like us that are willing to help and benefit others. And then say, how can I be a part of the deal? And we'll say, okay, if you're willing to do this, this, and that, or if we'll say, we want you to kind of do the same thing as we did. We want you to visit 8 brokers in your area and do this and do this and do this. And then if you find a deal, we'll arrange the financing, we'll guarantee the loan, we'll provide, 30 to 80% of the equity that needs to go into the deal. And, just help you take it all the way to the finish line.
So, Mike, if our listeners wanted to reach out, where's the best place that they can go?
Our website is CaminoVerdeGroup.com. And we also have a YouTube channel that hopefully we'll be able to put this on there too. And it has videos that talk about how we work and talk about opportunity zones. We do a lot of tax advantaged investments in opportunity zones, or like in Charleston, South Carolina, we're getting historic tax credits and abandoned building tax credits and that type of thing. So we bought this property in South Carolina for $12 million, and it had $16 million or $15 million in tax credits that we could sell. And it also had, it's in an opportunity zone. So you can have a long-term tax benefit too. So, but go to our website, go to our YouTube channel and learn about us. we're going to ask you, have you read these books? Have you done this? That type of thing, just to know that, we don't have to give you that freshman or sophomore education level. We want to help you graduate from your junior year and senior year.
Fantastic. Well, Mike, thank you so much for being on the show today. I so appreciate your time and sharing everything that you have with us today on today's episode.
Great. I'm glad to do it. Appreciate it. We love working with you guys.
And thank you for listening to our podcast today, brought to you by Bonavest Capital. We would really appreciate it if you can go to iTunes right now and leave a rating and written review. Also, please don't forget to subscribe so you can always get the latest episodes. You can also connect with us on Facebook, How Did They Do It Real Estate. We'd love to hear your feedback and any topics that you're interested in for future episodes. Lastly, to learn more about us, you can go to bonavestcapital.com and fill out the Contact Us page so you can speak to us directly. Nothing on the show should be considered as specific personal advice. Please consult your legal, tax, and real estate professionals for individualized advice.